thank you to everyone who's logged in to join us this morning. We're super excited to have a longtime section partner with us in Tag Marshall to talk through a little bit more about their technology. And they're joined by head professional down at Indian Creek Country Club, Joe Compitello. He's also our Southern Chapter member at large board member. So Joe, thank you so much for being on the call and being participating in this webinar and talking through with Tag Marshall how it's helped you at your facility. We certainly appreciate, and nothing goes further than a testimonial. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Before I give it over to Bodo and let the webinar officially begin, I just wanted to remind everyone that you will receive PDR credits for your time this morning. Those will be posted within a couple days of the webinar, so don't worry. I will make sure they get posted, and we appreciate you being online with us this morning and hope you enjoy the webinar.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jackie. I believe that the South Florida PGA section was the first ever section we partnered with as a business. We're now partnering with 15 sections, but you guys are still setting the standards. So
how about that? That's all. I can't take credit. That's all Meredith Schuler, but that's exciting. We're excited to be the first, and hopefully many more years together for sure.
100%. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining our expert session, 3 ways Indian Creek uses on-course technology to drive efficiency and create exceptional member experiences. I'm delighted to have Joe Compitello with us. He's the PGA head golf pro at Indian Creek. Joe, how are you this morning?
I'm great, Bodo. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all Tag Marshall does for us.
Thank you. Not the worst office in the world there in the background. We're going to talk about the club, and you'll do an introduction for us just now. But I'm also excited to have Mr. Tag Marshall himself here with me, Joey Walters, our GM, also lives being down in Florida. Joey, how are you?
Doing great, Bodo. How about yourself this morning?
I'm good, thanks. I should be wearing a branded kit like you. I missed the trick. All right, so we've got an action-packed, I think it's just under an hour with you, and we leave a couple of minutes for questions in the end. So that's why, between Joe, myself, and Joey, we'll answer the best we can. There is a Q&A option in this Zoom webinar. If you have any questions, you can feel free to post them at any time. We'll track them as we go. But to get us started, we want to give and also we know that all of you are watching the US Open on the other screen, so that's okay. We won't hold it against you. So we want to give Joe an opportunity to introduce us to his amazing course, and also tell us a bit about how he ended up where he's sitting right now. Joe?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, so you're looking at a new picture of Indian Creek right there. For those of you who don't know Indian Creek, it's an island. It's in Biscayne Bay in Miami Beach, and we're coming up on 100 years old. The club's anniversary is 1928. It's a William Flynn golf course. It's really fun. When you look at the course in that photo there, those 2 lakes you see are brand new. They were added in our renovation. Prior to that, we had no lakes on the golf course, which is unique for Florida in itself. But those 2 really are not in play. So it's still very wide off the tee, a fair golf course, a lot of fun for the members and people who come down in the winter who aren't playing a ton of golf. Our membership is not all of them are here all the time. So yeah, it's a wonderful place. The membership's great. They come from all over the country and the world to Indian Creek in the winter months. And we have a lot of participation in our events. They utilize the club for golf mainly, but they have a big social calendar. The clubhouse, which you can see a little bit, is on the very south end of the island. Sits on the highest point in all of Miami-Dade County. So it has great views of the city. The building is beautiful, and they really enjoy coming for dinners and some of the events as well as the golf. So the members really enjoy the place and the experience and being here in the winter months when the weather's great. I'm just finished my 5th season here at Indian Creek. The time's gone by so fast between the pandemic, and we had sort of 2 years of course restrictions with the renovation. So it's been a great few years. I'm lucky to be here. I moved down from Pittsburgh. I was working at Oakmont when this opportunity came up. So I've been fortunate not only to be at Indian Creek, but prior at Oakmont, and have some great people helping me in my career. But yeah, I love it here, and it's a fantastic place. I hope you get the chance to see it at some point, everybody.
Thank you. You've just opened yourself up to people asking for a round at Indian Creek, and it's on record. So those must be the 2 only lakes in the whole of Florida that don't have gators in them, right?
Yes, no gators here. The 2 greens you see in the bottom of the screen, to the left is number 4, to the right is number 13. Those holes along the seawall are some of our signature holes. Those actually 2 are 2 short par 4s. So the course is great.
It does look amazing. Obviously, we're super excited this week to have one of our, as you mentioned, Oakmont. We've worked with them for many years, and also everyone's, like I joked earlier, is excited about the US Open at Pinehurst. That's another long-term partner of ours. Joe, I know that you've played up there. What are you expecting from this weekend?
Oh, it's gonna be fun to watch. I mean, the course is a lot different since I played in college, but it looks really tough off the tee with all that sort of wire grass. I think you're going to have to drive it good and hit to the middle of the green. So I think it's a ball striker's golf course this week.
Joey, that's why we're not at the US Open.
That's exactly
Right.
why we're not at the US Open.
Joey, who do you think is going to take this one? Who did you bet on?
Probably Shoffley. I think I would go with him right now.
Yeah,
he's
on
a
form.
little bit of a hot hand. Yeah. It's a tough course though, so it could be anybody this time.
Yeah, let's see who gets arrested on the way in, right? That always nerves.
Maybe motivated.
Yeah. Amazing. Joe, thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah, it does look amazing. And obviously having the Miami skyline behind you, yeah, that's must be pinch me moments every day for you.
Yeah,
and
it is.
And also great to hear of your journey from Oakmont and via other courses, and many people have helped you along the way. And now you're here. So a quick introduction on Tag Marshall. So we are a technology company. We've been around the block now for almost 10 years, which is an age in technology, but it's a blink of an eye when it comes to some of the historic golf courses we play with. And you mentioned yours is 100 years old, which is phenomenal. Yeah, we've tracked now 75 million rounds every season. There's a large chunk that gets added. We've got more than 1 billion data points that we collected, and our algorithms and our machine learning keeps learning from. And we are on 600 or so golf courses now. So I mentioned Pinehurst. A few weeks ago, we all watched the PGA Champs at Valhalla, also one of our partners. And more recently, we were joined by the old course at St. Andrews on the other side. And that for us was a bit of a milestone, because where a 100-year-old course in the US is something to be proud of, the old course at St. Andrews is 470 years old, right? Which, and for us to see them turn to technology where they're really so traditional has been a fantastic milestone. Yeah, we're on, I think, 40 of the top 100 clubs, but the majority of our clubs are really the good daily fee course down the road, the good private club down the road. They're all solving the same problems. And for us, it's exciting because we obviously get to learn from the very best, and our systems gets to learn from a lot of data, and we can then bring those strategies and ways of working back into many golf courses through the technology and through the coaching and training that we can do with them. So very exciting time for us. And to have amazing people like Joey and the rest of our team, which is now 80 strong, look after our partners, obviously goes a long way in building long-standing relationships. I think Valhalla has been with us since 2017. So this is they're now going into their third term contract with us. But we want to talk a bit more about what is the member and player experience factors that really matter the most, right? Because we're all here, golf is here to create experiences for people and to build relationships. So Joe, in your experience, both obviously the clubs that you played at historically, also you hopefully played a lot of golf out there. If you're looking at this list of factors, and if I asked you to pick three, of course design, course conditioning, clubhouse and amenities, pace and flow of play, playing partners, accessibility, tee time availability, obviously big topic now that golf is so hot, value and cost. If you had to pick three as a course manager to get things right for your members and guests, which three would you pick?
Yeah, for Indian Creek, I would say it's probably course conditioning, accessibility to the golf course, and then the clubhouse and amenities for us.
Course conditioning normally floats to the top, right?
Yeah.
And for good reason. I think your clubhouse is famous, right? It's a big deal, and you're very modest about it. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, the clubhouse, like I said, for the club, it's an integral part of the place. We're not a golf club. It's the building, like I said, sits on the highest point in all of Dade County. It's designed by a guy named Maurice Fatio, who is a Florida building architect of that era, influenced by Meisner and some of the other really famous ones down here. And we have an open air courtyard that overlooks the pool, Biscayne Bay, and the skyline. So they really adore it. They use the dinners. Once a month we have a seafood buffet. It's a really big event that sell out every month, where it's mountains of stone crabs, and it's outdoors mainly, and there's music, and they really love that part of the club. As much as the golf course is, probably the biggest, maybe the biggest amenity we have, the clubhouse and all the social stuff is really important to the membership here.
Sure. And I do think, obviously stating the obvious, but it's a super exclusive setup, right? How many rounds do you guys do a season?
We do, in year round, we do about 14,000 rounds. Most of that being from December 1st to May 1st.
Yeah.
But yeah,
many of the partners we work with obviously are much busier, but it's exciting for us to obviously be adding value to you and clubs like yours. And you may have a slightly different use case to what we're normally focusing on, because obviously your round count is not as many.
Yeah. I
was reminded to mention Cypress Point as one of our other partners, and they do literally what a municipal golf course would do in 2 months, right? In a whole season. But Joey, maybe going to you, and obviously you're out there white glove servicing and building relationships with a lot of our partners. What would you say are the top 3 factors that they want to get right, more broad-based in the clubs that you get to visit?
Yeah, I think it's, course conditioning obviously floats to the top. Pace of play, big factor for these guys, and value and cost, are also in there, because we do see a lot of daily fee resort style courses, so everybody's fighting for the same issues though, right? That's the course conditioning is always one of the tough ones. Sure. For everybody, especially with the 6-month courses. short windows to get it right, you know. And where Joe's at, you're battling heat. It's a lot of heat in Miami, right? Try and keep the course green and in good shape, you know, for your players.
And I think that's one of the benefits that Joey's kind of talked to us about, because it's not easy keeping your course in pristine conditions through the winter, like when nothing actually grows in Florida and you've got all this play volume going over your course. How are you going to protect your turf? That's one of the things we want to talk about. That let me quickly end our poll that our guests on the webinar have participated in. I'll share the results quickly and we'll see what they thought. Course conditioning, number one, pace and flow of play. We've got to get that right. And accessibility, tee times availability at number three for our crowd of almost 50 voters here. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your opinions. Let's jump into a little bit of research that we got from the USGA Golf Innovation Symposium, and that is actually compiled by our friends over at Players First. So they do millions of post-round sentiment surveys, and they found that, well, there's certain things you've got to get right as an operator. And one of the measures, are we getting it right or not, in their word, as it is in many other industries, is the NPS, which is the Net Promoter Score. So for those of you who are not familiar, the NPS is when the airline or the hotel asks you, how likely are you to recommend our service or our product to your friends and peers and family, colleagues, out of 10, 0 being never, it was terrible, and 10 being it was the best thing ever, right? So the Net Promoter Score is a really good indicator because it's a very simple way of sentiment capture post-experience or post-product use. And at a golf course, what they found is literally millions of data points. There are 3 things that you have to get right. Players need to be made to be feeling welcome. There needs to be good flow out on the golf course. And then ideally, we want them to meet on-course staff, right? Because a round of golf anywhere is between 3.5 and 5 hours long. That's a long time. So for players to not meet anyone out on the golf course, they, as much as they hopefully enjoying their round and the people they're with, there is a big service opportunity that's gone missing, right? How can we make your round better? How can we help you? And white glove servicing people. So meeting any on-course staff counts upwards. And if we don't get that right, the restaurant visits percentage goes down and the Net Promoter Score is terrible. Like, it's really bad. People don't come back. And that is where daily fee golf in the US actually has the terrible reputation that 48% of first-time visitors to a daily fee golf course do not return. So that's effective 48% churn of first-time visitors. And I think as an industry, we have a huge opportunity to do that much better. And these are some of the things we've got to get right. Players want to feel welcome. There needs to be good flow of play, no wait times, and they want to meet on-course staff. On the flip side, there is a huge impact of flow versus Net Promoter Score. Like, if the flow is bad, no matter what else you've done on the course, no matter how good the conditioning, excellent service, lovely the staff in the clubhouse, if it's bad flow, people's Net Promoter Score will tank. That's what they take away. And funny enough, it's Matt Barksdale from Pinehurst who's always says, the on-course sentiment of people feel on the course is the post-round sentiment. That's what they take away, right? And that's what they remember and tell others. Are you guys surprised at all that pace and flow of play portion weighs so heavily on the experience? And let me ask Joe first. And again, not so much at Indian Creek. You guys are top-notch. You're getting it right. And also you have the privilege of not overplaying the course. But in general, like, are you surprised that pace is such a big topic for golfers?
No, I'm not surprised. It's one of the few things that when it is a problem at Indian Creek, it's one of the few things that can really deter your day from being spectacular, as if you're waiting on the golf course. And I'm not surprised by that.
And Joe, I know that obviously you're helping dial in a lot of our managers also in the daily fee space. Not only is it good for business in terms of the quality of the product you're creating, but if you get it right, you can also look at generating more capacity, which is obviously highly attractive dollars. So yeah, out of all the things that you're learning out in dealing with all of these managers, how high does that float in terms of what's important to them from a business standpoint? Not just making players happy, but also like how can we dial into our asset? How can we get more out of our golf course? Are you seeing a lot of take up and interest in that?
Yeah, quite a bit, Bodo. It's actually the course I was at yesterday. It was one of the topics, for these guys to find a few extra tee times because they've got so much play. Accessibility to the course is a big issue.
Sure.
And I'm sure even in Joe's space, if he can find an extra tee time in there for his clients in a short window, that's a big win, right? It's not so much about driving the revenue for him, it's more about satisfying your clientele, right? So it kind of works both ways in the daily fee space and the private club and even into the resort, right? If you can get those extras in without really creating a problem in your pace of play, everybody wants to try and take advantage of that, I think.
Sure. Yeah, especially now that golf is so hot, right? And I often compare it to, well, if you run an airline and you find it and you can create an extra 3 rows of seats on your plane, that's highly attractive dollars, right?
Yes.
And funny enough, we mentioned Oakmont earlier. I know that's something that they said, like having that additional capacity created is incredibly valuable to them because obviously they can accommodate more guest play. It drives real dollars and they can make more members happy. So it goes both ways, right? It's a quality of product, quality of the play we're trying to create, but also it's good for your business, especially now that that everyone wants to play golf and everyone wants to get out there. So I know that Joe and the team down at Indian Creek have found really smart ways of using the line of sight that the technology gives them to get more play out and make more players happy. We're going to talk to that now in this section. So how has the tech impacted operational efficiency at Indian Creek? So a quick oversight over what Tag Marshal does. So we have a number of technology options on the front end that basically we use to collect data and feed that data into our cloud service and then present it in a very intuitive way on a live map that is basically your control room, and it really makes sense of what happens out on your golf course, including everything that moves, including your mowers and machinery, your drinks carts, anything you want to see, and it really calculates in a very efficient way where your problems right on the golf course at any moment, very quick to see what's happening. And then we have the underlying data, including hole by hole run times, tee box wait times, what have you, like the capacity throughput opportunities you can derive from that, and really just the quality control measure so that you can dial into a team and they know what to do more of and when exactly to pay attention to things. So Joe, you and the team, you have opted for what we call our classic installed system. Just give us the reasons for that, because obviously we do have a screen as well, but we know it's not right for everyone.
Yeah, sort of the reason we engaged Tag Marshal in the first place was we did a big renovation at Indian Creek. It's the largest investment the club's ever made in the club. To renovate the golf course. All 187 acres were redone, new turf, new greens, new drainage, irrigation. Every feature was rebuilt on the golf course. So it was a big undertaking, and for the club, and people were very passionate about it. So when it was time to reopen, they really wanted to take measures to protect the golf course and protect the investment. It's not the easiest place in the world to grow grass. It's an island in the middle of Biscayne Bay that's made with dirt from the bottom of the bay. So, and course conditions being at such a premium, they really wanted to protect what they had put into the golf course. So they wanted carts to be restricted on where they could go, and especially near greens and tees and some of our key features. But they did not want a screen on the golf cart. They just thought it's not really in keeping with the club's culture. Not that we're tech averse, but it doesn't didn't fit with what the membership and golf committee wanted at the time. So Tag Marshal is able to control carts without the use of a screen, which really was for us was great. The carts, when you encroach on an area that is too close to a green or tee, the cart has a fairly loud beeper or buzzer that will alert you you're too close and that you need to drive away. They also like that feature because while it's a deterrent, no question, it's not such an inconvenience where the cart will turn off and then you're forced to reverse out of the area. Or if for some reason you have to head back to the golf course, to the clubhouse, or maybe a shotgun, and you happen to drive through an area by mistake, you don't get turned off, and you can sort of, it's not such an inconvenience.
Yeah.
So for us, the way our club is, it was really a perfect fit for that, and that was really the main reason we engaged Tag Marshal.
And Joe, I believe you've also dialed in the private carts that you have, so they're also being tracked. So now you really have everyone on the screen, right? It's full line of sight, and
yeah,
we're going to talk about how the players have received that, but obviously the private cart side of things is very important in Florida. There's many clubs and country clubs that have got rather large fleets, and it's a really tough beast to control. At the same time, the players have got really high expectations on the turf conditions, but they also have 16-year-old kids, right? that take off the cart, and then it may not necessarily be as compliant as we would hope they might be, right? So how do we balance that? I know on the other side of Florida, we work with quite a few of the courses. One of them is the Quarry, and they've done a big implementation across all of their carts. Joey, I don't know if you've been down to Pat and the Quarry. Just give us if you haven't, tell me, and if you have, how are things working for them? Because obviously there might be clubs on this call now that are thinking about, well, how can we make this work for us?
Yeah, I haven't been there, but I'm obviously in touch with our customer success team, who does talk to them on a regular basis, and it's working well for them. The members are enjoying it. I think we've got 400 carts there, I believe, that have the system in it. So yeah, it's been a big success, and they've had great feedback for us on the results. So it's been a big win for us and them.
Yeah, I think one of the benefits is that Tag Marshal will work with any cart, right? So whether that's a club car, easy go, Yamaha, it doesn't matter. And obviously the private carts are all sorts. So for us to have one solution for the club to really dial into the operation, that works across everything, has been a benefit to them. And also they actually gave their members the choice. Well, if you want to put a screen with the range finding and to the pin distance and all of those good things into your cart, you can have it, right? It's your choice. And quite a few of the people have actually gone with that because they felt it was such a nice value add to them. So that's, those are good success stories, and ultimately everyone wins, right? Because now you've got better control over your turf conditions, you've got better control over your pace, and you have a real handle on where do players go, where don't they go on the course. But Joe, back to you. You obviously, you guys are service heroes when it comes to your players and members. This is what things might look like on a reasonably busy day out at Indian Creek. Tell us a little bit about who have you got dialed into the system, and also, how do the guys use it in their day-to-day? Because we're seeing numbers on the screen here, but we have to remember that some people on our webinar would never have seen this. So if you had to explain it in a nutshell, what do we see here? What do you guys do with it? And who have you got dialed in into the program?
Yeah, this is the main screen that we use with Tag Marshal pretty much daily in season. The numbers that you see are either a golf cart or a caddy who carries a tag with him. So at a glance, I can click or touch any of those numbers, and it'll tell me who it is, where they're on the golf course. So if I need to go see them, or for any particular reason, I would know exactly where everyone who's on the golf course is. And then the different colors you see are sort of just pace updates. So the big 33 and that sort of purple would be for us a pace problem. They are behind pace and they're delaying the two groups behind them. So for us, we would know exactly where to go to try and alleviate pace. You know, they're only on the 5th hole. That would be a great chance for us to get on that issue early and improve the pace for everyone who's going to play behind them. And then out on number 12, there's a red number. It means they're slow, but it's not impacting anyone behind them at the moment. So while it's a problem, it's not, they're not impacting the experience of someone behind them yet. So for me, my whole staff has access to this. It's on every computer in the golf shop. They have it, sort of saved in their phones if they're on the golf course and they need to, look from the course. So all my assistants, all my golf interns, and probably the most used person is our caddy master. He is by the first tee. He is really the quarterback of play. We don't have tee times, so he's really where all the play goes through. And it's for us really been a great addition as far as managing the play. It was always kind of difficult to start people elsewhere on the course because you'd have to go out and look and see where people were. So it would take a bit. And now if my caddy master wants to send someone to number 7, which is sort of near the driving range, or somewhere else on the golf course, because there's 3 or 4 groups who are kind of waiting to go off the first tee, and we have another group of who doesn't care where they start and they just want to play fast, or Chris, that he can see there's 4 or 5 open holes if you were to start on number 11 and drive down the road and start there. So for him, it's really improved the service of managing the play and reducing any wait times in the first hole and giving the people a chance to maybe play a little faster round by starting elsewhere. That's probably been our biggest impact as far as operationally and improving the service level here. And then, we use it day to day. People need stuff, they call us. I need any chance you could bring out a demo driver or a Band-Aid, or I left my rangefinder. Can you bring it to me? And it gives us the chance to sort of just see exactly where they are. And instead of killing 20 minutes driving around looking for them, we can sort of be there and back a lot quicker. So it's certainly the way we use it. It's helped our efficiency just with the member experience at Indian Creek. We have the luxury of being able to move people around the course and start them in different places. And when there's a little bit of congestion, we have the luxury of sort of dispersing it quickly now.
That is great to hear. And one of the things that we also know adds a lot of value is that Tag Marshal is, we've got open APIs and we tap into probably 20 T-sheet systems now, also Golf Genius, right? So we're looking to just pull data and make that a one-stop experience, right? So that it's automated and you get to then have the benefit of having your entire T-sheet or your players and player names assigned out on the golf course to the cast, to the caddies. So you can really personalize your service. Joey, maybe over to you for a minute here. I know that Indian Creek, obviously a very special place, and I love how they find uses in the system that are maybe a bit out of the ordinary, because a lot of the clubs that we work with, there's no gaps ever, right?
Yeah.
So how do you and what are you hearing and what are you seeing in terms of like a really busy course? How do they make use of this and what do they get out of it?
Yeah, it actually, the course I'm at right now is one that does about 75,000 rounds a year. So and it's an 18-hole facility. So these guys are using it for complete line of sight and pace of play management, for the true part of the system, right? So they're managing this thing very tightly. They have a very large clientele that plays this course, and there is a mix of membership and daily fee. And what's great is when you hear somebody come by you and say, "This has been a great experience. This is a great course. I'll be back." Right? That's you hear these little things when you're out on the course that tell you that things are going right, and the club is using the system in the right way to manage everything from the top down. Even the cart kids use it to track carts coming in at night, so they know if they need to go do a couple of other things, pick up balls on the range or whatever, they have time to go do it and then come back and take care of the carts that are coming in. So it's yeah, and to Joe's point, I hear some of the stuff too. There's a course in South Florida that uses it very much in the way Joe's using it as well in some things, where they're really customizing it to their clientele for a high-end club. They actually use it to also run food out to their clients, so the guys can order food wherever they're at on the course, and they can take it directly to them, and their food's still hot. It's not cold. They're not chasing them down or anything. And they use it the same way Joe does. Is they have no tee times, so they use it for line of sight on the course where to plug people in. So they may start on hole 5, and then they go. So it's been a great experience for them as well. They really enjoy having that line of sight to the course.
Yeah, and reversely, where Joe's team can see that there's a gap of 3 holes, maybe on a day, there's quite a few of our partners that are dialing in their superintendents, and they can see that too, right? So they can get more done, and they know, it's the first group out, how far they're in, can we still get XYZ sorted out before they get there. So the line of sight is key, and just being accurate around the actions that you take, and maybe going back to the Oakmont example again. I remember them saying that once you have a group that's fallen out of position by 20 minutes and they're impacting 5, 6, 7 other groups behind them, you can never get that time back, right? So they put so much effort into catching those groups that are starting to fall out of position early, so that the rest of the day is not impacted. And it really pays off every single time. But you do not want to spend crazy amount of man hours and effort on it. You want that to be as automated as possible, be accurate about it, and also have a conversation that is based on data, right? And I know that, Joe, you and the team are obviously, pace of play issues are not really a thing at Indian Creek, but sometimes you do get busy and you want to make sure that that you can stay on top of things and nobody has a bad round out there. How is it helping you having that data in terms of the conversations that you might have with players?
Yeah, for us, it makes the conversation a lot easier. One, like I said, we know exactly who's creating the problem. So we can go to like that group of number 5 and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, you're 5 holes in and you are already 10 minutes over your pace. You should be through this hole in an hour and 3 minutes or whatever it is, and it's already taken you an hour and 15 minutes. So we sort of have exact data, and it doesn't feel like we're maybe just singling them out. It's just hey, here's where you're at on tag Marshall. If you could do your best to speed up, or why don't you hop in the shuttle cart? We'll drive you off of the 6th tee box and maybe the 7th tee box to catch you up to the group in front of you, and then we can sort of see how they do on the next few holes on tag Marshall, if they improve or not, and sort of how we address the problem. So it makes the conversation for us a little smoother, and no one's ever happy when you approach them about, hey, you're a little slow, but it makes it a little more approachable and a little more data driven, rather than you're not singling them out for, you have some more evidence to back it up.
Yeah, that's great. We often say data doesn't have emotions, right? It's fact-based, and because pace and players without data and telling someone they're, especially if you choose the wrong wording and tell them they're slow, that is not an easy conversation, right? Players would never admit, they will find a million reasons why, and that's when you, especially also, potentially, like members in particular have got strong opinions, right? They will not back down on you, so it's a difficult conversation to have. At the same time, your responsibility is towards everyone, right? Everyone on the course today, not just that one group. So being able to have the information and present it in a rational, quick, to the point way that the players can compute, and also using the right terminology. That's one of the things you said it a few times now, Joe. Tell the group they're out of position rather than they're slow. It completely changes the interaction.
Yeah.
But it's great to see, and obviously you're doing really well. We're going to look at some of the data in just a minute, but going back to one of the core points of you choosing technology and getting that onboarded after the big renovation. So here we see some of the geofences that the team have set up. So these obviously specifically to protect the greens. So if a course might have a screen system, then that also beeps at them and shows an alert at the players. It's a little bit more self-managed, but the way that it works, you can set up templates, and then you can activate them certain times of day. You can have sort of various types of priorities around your alerts. And then once it's set up, you just say go or no, and the system then runs itself, and it's constantly tracking and active. Let me just jump back here. Obviously, you've protected some of the areas. Is it working? One, like, are the players compliant? And also, is your green keeping team and your superintendent, are they happy with the results that you're able to achieve?
Yeah, that's been really great for us. The green sites in particular are really integral to the golf course. They're all elevated, and there's a lot of short grass around. So the ball rolls off the sides of the greens, and you've got either lob wedge over a bunker or a bump and run chip or a putt back up to the green. And I would say this year the turf around the greens, by all accounts, members, superintendents, myself, have probably been the best that they've been since I've been here. And it's really easy to manage. Like, you can actually see here at the moment, the one around the 9th green is not on. So we sometimes we stage carts by the 9th green for an event, so we'll turn that one off so they don't sort of get in that geofence as they drive out of the staging area. Sometimes we make them bigger. There's a few holes that have some trees near the green, so we extend the geofence out a little further. And we communicated in the beginning of the year, or before we implemented this, how it was going to work. We took some of these screenshots, and we have on the course sort of a black post with an orange top, and we just sort of communicated that when you see this post, that's sort of a signal to scatter your cart, and you should maintain that radius from the green around the entire green, and that if you encroach on that radius, that your cart is likely to beep, and you'll have to get out of there. And it ebbs and flows. Sometimes we have a member guest, we may pull some of the posts off the course and maybe turn a few of the geofences off just to improve on the experience a little bit. And then it may be rainy and soft, and we may expand them a little bit and put some more ropes and additional stakes out and make the geofences bigger. So we utilize it often. Me and the superintendent communicate on it and adjust it, and it works great.
One of the additional benefits also is because you know who's in a cart in terms of the names. There is what we call a track map, right, which is a history of every single round, and that tracks the pace status, but it also tracks geofence breaches. And I know, Joey, that golfers get very naughty sometimes. You've seen a few use cases where this has really helped a manager keep players compliant. I'm thinking of a story you told about some youngsters that were at the wrong place at the wrong time. Do you
I
remember
drove
that?
across the green.
Yeah, so
A group of kids drove across the green and they lied to the guy. I told him they didn't do it. And he said, hang on. He says, before you answer that again, I'm going to ask you the question again. And just know that I have a system that tells me everywhere you've been. He said, so do you want to change that answer? He goes, yes, sir, we did.
yeah. That's a learning opportunity, coaching
Yes.
opportunity well
Yeah,
used,
he
right?
did it as a teaching moment for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next section, and we've obviously got a few minutes left. And Joe, thank you so much for the insight. How does Indian Creek use tech to optimize the member experience and offer white glove service? You mentioned some of the ways in which you really drive the member experience to the next level. But I also want to just take a quick look at the data. Like your goal time is 3:59. That already shows that you're ambitious, right? Under 4 hours. And you actually brought this entire season through in 3 hours and 50 minutes. So you're on pace success, and within 10 minutes, 75% of your rounds. But the system tells you exactly what your whole runtime is and things like that. And where, again, with the minimum number of rounds comparatively that you're running at Indian Creek, this is not your primary focus. But it's probably still useful to have the data. And my question is, how do you use it? Do you ever go and dial into that and to report to your committee or others in the club that are interested?
Yeah, we do. We just sort of got the end of season report with our average round times. We have actually an average round time for carts and an average round time for walkers. And, there was a lot of talk, we used to be 80% cart usage prior to the renovation. Now we're about 80% walking post renovation. So it's been useful to show people that the walking rounds really are not taking much longer than the golf cart rounds. And it's really not impacting pace of play to be walking. So that's been helpful to sort of tell the story, spread a positive message about continuing to walk the golf course and keep carts off of it. And then, it's also helpful. It tells you which days and which exact times you have your pace problems. You might know that without looking at it, but it's sort of helpful to isolate that. We know on Saturday mornings between 8 and 10 is sort of where our pace struggles. And so we can schedule someone to be monitoring pace play during those windows times. And then that person also can check tag Marshall, and if there is an issue, they can address it quickly. If there are no issues, they may be able to focus on an upcoming event for a few more minutes rather than just being out on the golf course in a cart for 2 hours and maybe not doing much. So for us, it's helpful to manage the staff. They can be a little more efficient. They can get to the problems quicker. The data helps tell, for me, a great story to my golf committee and the board here on how the club is utilized by the members and what we're doing. And so the data's been very helpful.
That's brilliant. So this is your play volume versus pace, like segmented by round. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the top right is that graph. Joey, if you're a course manager of a daily fee course and you see that your 7 to 8 a.m. segment runs in 3 hours and 11, what do you do with that?
I'm maximizing that tee time, and I'm going to get some more revenue out of it. So I'm going to drive the cost up a little bit and charge a little bit more for that section. Yeah.
We actually have a lot of clubs that use that, maybe the first hour or so, not just first tee time out, which is always the one to get, right, if you're a quick player, but they would say you can play this course in 3 hours 30 guaranteed if you tee off between 7 and 8, it only costs you 30% more. Are you in? Right? And that they call it fast staying off, whatever. And then you attract the right sort of player to really start your day off well, and they will happily pay more. It's a great dynamic pricing tie-in. And also in the dynamic pricing world, obviously it's a big opportunity now that there's so much demand on golf. you have to deliver on the quality, right? Because if your A to MT time costs twice as much as it normally would, well, the expectation also rises, right? So you have to get it right. And that's where a tool like TagMarsh is so helpful, because you can deliver on the quality and you can drive additional capacity. And again, Indian Creek, you guys are outliers in terms of the fantastic facility you have and the exclusive nature of it. But there's a lot of golf out there that is not getting played right now because we don't have the capacity for it, right? So that's really exciting that that we get to make a difference there to the operators and also to their revenue base. Again, not a big thing at Indian Creek, but the data really speaks volumes. Why it's so important to stay on top of those couple of groups that might delay others, because even at a well-managed course like yours, you have 6% groups delaying and they impact 20% of your play, right? So this is exactly what golfers cry about. They're saying, well, there's always guys out there that delay us, and then my group, my round is impacted, my score goes down, my blood pressure goes up, right? So even you guys are doing super well and you have almost 70% going through on pace, there is a small group of players that impact others. And there's always obviously room for improvement. But I can tell you, if you didn't pay attention and if you didn't have the line of sight, this would blow completely out, right? And then very quickly, you're then playing in 4 hours 20, but the perceived experience is much worse than that. And the members will have you know as well. So it's really good to firstly be proactive, be seen out there, especially at those key times that you've now identified. Have that on-course presence that's accurate. And it really works. Like, you really can catch the players early rather than mopping things up once they're 20 minutes out of position and impacting 5, 10, 20, 30 players behind them. That is really hard to catch. So this is sort of some of the data that we would look at. Here's another opportunity, and this is particularly also interesting to the superintendents. Where do our cards go? Where don't they go? Where do players go? Where don't they go? Right? We actually did a really exciting study with Crandon Golf, which is 45 minutes south of you guys, where they were looking to drive major irrigation and water savings, because it's really expensive to get the water out onto the keys. And they actually made some turf adjustments based on data like this, right? And it's immediate savings, and and obviously there's enough water stressed areas, not so much in Florida generally, but certainly in the Keys, where this can come in useful. Joe, is this something that you've looked at before, also in terms of maybe with the superintendents? Is your geofencing working? Is your course routing working? Are players behaving in a logical way, or are there areas that you need to protect more?
Yeah, we use this heat map from time to time, not as much as the other screens, but certainly if we see an area on the golf course that is under stress, we can go to the heat map and confirm, like, is a lot of car traffic there, and then maybe just rope that entire area off and extend the geofence a bit. So we do use it when we're making adjustments to the geofences, and again, it's just a nice visual, like, to share with people. The green committee, like, they love seeing these things. It's it backs up what we're doing and makes it clear for them, and it's helpful.
You can see here on that hole number 1 that clearly your geofence is working because nobody's on the green, right? Nobody stresses.
We haven't had any issues with that.
Interesting enough, we were talking about Valhalla earlier. So they use this to inform some major renovations that they did in the lead up to the PGA Champs, and they said, well, if we're going to change some of our card paths and some of our holes, let's be informed. Like, where do players actually move? How do they move? Where do they cut across? How can we actually use the natural tendencies that players have, where they're going bypassing the design that was there originally, or that as it was intended, and how can we use that data to be informed? And it's really been successful also at Baltusrol. They've done major innovations, and they said, like, it saved us so much headache and money to have the data certainty and present that to our architect too. So that's all helpful. And then the last point, obviously, of interest is that if you're having these player names pulling through. Obviously, we can build profiles on players, right? And we know how often did they play, what's their preferred tee times, but also are they normally a risk to your course, or are they normally compliant? Again, with limited amount of play, that is not such a big thing, but it does help when it comes down to maybe some players shouldn't be starting off your day, right? Because they're more often than not posing a challenge to your flow. And this can be helpful when it comes to dialing into that, especially a private club. These are sensitive conversations. Again, the data makes it easier. And this is one of those, what we call a track map, where we just show the history. This group has gone through nicely on pace. That's why there's only green dots. And they were just out of position once or twice, but they did have a few geofence breaches where they didn't stay on the cart path, maybe around the green. So if you needed to have an educational conversation, you have the information, right? Sorry, I flew through these last two slides because we're almost at the end of our show, of our session, and we've got 2 more minutes. So maybe last thoughts from you, Joe, and thank you so much for the fantastic insight. What a place you have there. It's phenomenal. It's like, when can we come hang out? But how have the members responded to the technology, in terms of the experience that you're creating for them, the turf quality? Like, has it been a success as far as the members are concerned?
Yeah, it's been a big success. I think, oftentimes they're not even aware of it until the buzzer hits them, so, but they're certainly feeling the benefits of improved pace of play. They're certainly seeing the benefits of better course conditions around the greens. Like I said, it's so integral for us that you're able to hit a pitch shot to an uphill green over a bunker from a nice lie versus one that's a little thin, grainy. So that's been a really big benefit to the members. And they've responded, I would say, by their behavior has changed in the way they use their golf carts. People used to drive golf carts all over, very close to greens and tees, and now we're hearing less buzzing while they're playing at the end of the season than when we first engaged Tag Marshall. So they're getting used to it, and it's impacting the course conditions definitely.
That's great to hear, and love to hear it. Joey, any parting thoughts? I know that obviously there'll be a lot of Florida managers on this, but there may be others that are right now at the height of the season, where things are super busy. We're obviously here to help, right? We can get you up and running in 3-4 weeks if you really needed the system now, but many others will say, well, can we do it in the shorter season? Can we do it for next year? Joey, parting thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for us is once we get into a place and the system gets installed, it's a pretty quick improvement that the guys see. I think we've had some records on there where these guys have done it in the first month. It's not atypical, but within the first 3 months, I would say, of a system install, they reap the rewards, and you can definitely see the pace of play getting in line, and the conditions start to improve for a club. So I think that's a big win for both us and our partners.
All right. There were a few questions asked here. One was, are we integrated with Agilices? So this is obviously a big resort software that, yes, we have. The answer is yes. We have a number of our partners like Bandit and so on use it, and there's a sort of T-sheet level integration. And then the other question was, if there's a handicapped person using a cart, can we allow them closer to certain areas and maybe mark that cart so that geofences don't go off? That's also possible.
Yes.
So the mid-season question was asked, could we get up and running? So we are on pace here, on the hour. Thank you so much for your fantastic insights, Joe. Joey, please when you're next in Miami, go visit and tell us if it's really as amazing as
Definitely.
the photos.
Joe and I, Joe and I will set something up for sure.
If you would like to learn more about how we work and how we work with our partners and how we generate ROI, feel free to reach out to Ashley Bryant, who's our partnership development manager in South Florida, or David Hamilton, our VP of Business Development. He is normally working out of Charleston or Augusta, depending on how close to the masters we are. And Joey, you cannot work with Tag Marker and not have interactions or touch points with Joey. So yeah, super proud
I'll
of
work
him.
out of everywhere.
But Joe, thank you again. Thank you so much. And also thanks for your contribution to the South Florida PGA and your fellow managers. It's always great to have really good people willing to share their experience and just impart some knowledge and stimulate some thinking. So we really appreciate your time. And now we'll let you guys get back to the US Open and hope that we're in for an exciting weekend. It's certainly a tough course to play. I was super excited about how the PGA Champs worked out. So hopefully this one is going to top it. Joe, thank you. And
Thank you.
Hope to see you at the PGA show or one of the events that will be closer to your neck of the woods. Okay,
Thanks, Bodo.
take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys.